U.S. war with Iran imminent. Prince Andrew arrested. Did you hear about this? And Russia warns the U.S. This is current events for February 20th, 2026. I am Sot L, seeker of truth L, speaker of truth L. This is the foundation. Thank you for joining us. And let's just jump right into it. Let's do a dance as we normally do. Make sure you check out welcome to thefoundation.com. Sign up for the email list. The little email box right there. Make sure you check out our free PDFs as well as our educational section. You can book a consultation in here. You want to talk to me. We can talk about your private stuff, but not your privates. Let me quit playing. We're checking out silver. I was just looking at this, y'all. I wouldn't say there's a confirmation. Ignore this buy signal. I don't really follow this thing. You lose money. You said buy right here. We'd have lost all types of bread right there if I'd have bought that. But it's looking good. We got gold. Gold is looking really good, as well as silver. As I said, there's a buy on that. Dollar cost average, $25, $50, $100 every 2 weeks, every 30 days. Go buy some silver. Trump illegally used executive power to impose global tariffs. This is the Supreme Court. He vows to do a 10% dance. The U.S. Supreme Court declared many of Donald Trump's tariffs illegal today in a sharp rebuke that topples a key pillar of the president's aggressive economic agenda. The 6-3 ruling. The court decided that a 1977 law designated to address national emergencies did not provide the legal justification for most of the Trump administration's tariffs on countries across the world. It is the first time the court has overruled one of Trump's second-term policies. Trump blasted the justices who ruled against him at a press conference, calling them a disgrace to the nation, and said the ruling had emboldened him to enact very powerful alternatives to the tariffs declared illegal. What did he say? He said, nope, not yet. He announces 10% global tariffs on the hold on. 10% global tariffs and rails against Supreme Court ruling. I don't know what I thought I was reading right there. So he did announce the 10%. We're not gonna do that. We're gonna move forward. Amazon. Hundreds of NYC roles reportedly included in Amazon's job reduction plan. The reported cuts are part of Amazon's previously announced plan to eliminate roughly 16,000 jobs. They're doing that AI. With the latest wave of layoffs, Amazon has reportedly hit hundreds of employees in New York, losing their jobs. Roughly 135 corporate employees at Amazon's 1440 Broadway office in Manhattan were laid off in January, according to the New York Post, citing a filing submitted to the New York State Department of Labor. More than 100 other New York-based employees were also let go, the outlet reported, citing a source who said additional filings are expected to surface in state records in the coming weeks. And that they gotta report that stuff. The reductions are part of Amazon's sweeping restructuring effort. The New York Post reported. Playing with fire. Russia. This is the Russia warning. Russia's Lavrov warns against U.S. strike on Iran. The Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has warned that any new U.S. strike on Iran would carry dangerous consequences, urging diplomacy to ensure Tehran's nuclear program remains peaceful. In an interview with Saudi Arabia's Al Arabiya channel, released Wednesday, Lavrov said previous attacks on Iranian nuclear facilities monitored by the International Atomic Energy Agency had already created serious risks. Quote, the consequences are not good. there were real risks of a nuclear incident. Everyone understands this is playing with fire, end quote. The remarks came a day after U.S. and Iranian negotiators held indirect talks in Geneva aimed at diffusing the latest standoff between Tehran and the United States. Lavrov said regional actors, particularly Arab states and Gulf monarchies, were signaling they did not want tensions to escalate, warning that renewed confrontation could reverse recent diplomatic progress, including improved ties between Iran and neighboring countries such as Saudi Arabia. We don't want that. A former prince is arrested in the UK with accountability in question in the US. Yeah, because has anyone been arrested in the United States? I don't know. I haven't heard anything. Police officers who came for Britain's fallen prince on his 66th birthday punctured the defining perception of the Epstein scandal that wealthy elites are shielded from scrutiny because of who they are. In America, accountability still seems elusive. It doesn't get much more elite than being the brother of King Charles III or the favorite son, according to insiders, of late Queen Elizabeth II. But blue blood did not spare Andrew Mountbatten Windsor from arrest in an investigation following the release of the J.E. files. The spectacle of the former Prince Andrew being taken yesterday from his new downsized quarters in the British countryside to the grubby indignity of a police station escalated the gravest controversy to rock the royal family in generations. Mountbatten Windsor was questioned over suspicion of misconduct in public office. Police have not disclosed what led to Andrew's arrest, but previously said they were assessing whether he shared confidential information with Epstein during his decade as a UK trade envoy. Mountbatten Windsor denied all prior wrongdoing, but has not commented on the latest claims. This is crazy. It's crazy. You would never expect this. So, we'll see what's going to happen in the United States. Steven Spielberg leaves California for New York as wealth tax push spurs political battle. California is not doing well when it comes to all these wealthy businesses and business owners leaving. One of the most acclaimed and successful American filmmakers in history has left California for New York. Steven Spielberg and his wife, Kate Capshaw, officially became New York residents on January 1st, according to a report by the Los Angeles Times. The couple relocated to the San Remo Co-op on Central Park West in Manhattan, which has previously housed celebrities including Bono, Mick Jagger, Warren Beatty, and Tiger Woods. On the same day that Spielberg reportedly established residency, his production company, Amblin Entertainment, opened an office in New York, marking a notable transition away from Hollywood. Speculation around the timing of the move can be linked to a proposed one-time 5% wealth tax on California residents worth $1 billion or more. While it has not yet qualified for the November ballot, the proposal, backed by the Service Employees International Union, United Healthcare Workers West, would take effect in 2027, and taxpayers could spread payments over 5 years with additional cost, according to the Legislative Analyst's Office. That's crazy. If the measure is approved by voters, anyone who was a California resident on January 1st, 2026 would owe the tax, according to the proposal. However, Spielberg's representative said the move has no connection to the potential tax. Quote, Steven's move to the East Coast is both long planned and driven purely by his and Kate Capshaw's desire to be closer to their New York-based children and grandchildren, end quote. I don't know. It could have been, one of those two birds, one stone type dance. If the measure passes, determining who qualifies as a California resident could be complex. The state's franchise tax board considers multiple factors when evaluating residency, including voter registration, time spent in California, driver's license issuance, vehicle registration, the location of a spouse and children, and social ties such as religious institutions or country clubs. It is not publicly known how Spielberg's relocation would affect any potential exposure should the measure pass, but With the Forbes estimated net worth of $7.1 billion, he could be expected to pay the Golden State approximately $355 million. And no one is going to allow that unless they absolutely have to and have no other choice. War with Iran appears imminent. So what's Congress going to do about it? A Trump administration official has now indicated there is a 90% chance the U.S. will enter a major war with Iran within weeks, if not days, following the deployment of a second aircraft carrier group to the Middle East and a buildup of fighter jets and refueling aircraft in the region. Yet despite increasing indications that an open-ended war is on the immediate horizon, Congress has not held a single vote on the topic or even held a debate. The public does not want war with Iran. No, we don't. Poll after poll show strong majorities opposed to a new war of choice against a nation nearly 4 times the size of Iraq. What's up with all these wars in the Middle East, man? Since I can remember, man. Come on now. The public does not want war with Iran. Recent polling by Quinnipiac, reveals that 70% of Americans oppose military action on Iran, with just 18% of Americans in support. It further found that 70% of Americans think the president should first seek approval from Congress before taking any military action. Likewise, a new University of Maryland poll finds just 1 in 5 Americans support a strike, with nearly 3/4 of Democrats, and most independents opposed, and 60% of Republicans opposed or unsure if they would support an attack on Iran. War with Iran would not be a cakewalk. Iranian officials are making clear that Americans would be a target for retaliation, unlike in June when Israel initiated and received the focus of Iran's response. Rather, Iranian officials are emphasizing that American naval vessels would be targeted in a war, in addition to American bases in the region and the vital oil checkpoint of the Strait of Hormuz. Given Iran's missile capabilities, these are not idle threats that can be easily dismissed. Even Senator Lindsey Graham, arguably the most prominent lawmaker advocating for the U.S. military to pursue regime change in Iran, acknowledges that Iran has capabilities and could kill American soldiers. Although Graham believes that sacrifice would be worth it, it is far from clear what goal the U.S. would seek to achieve in such a war and what costs may be associated with pursuing it. These seem like minimal questions to answer before entering a conflict, and yet there has been no oversight or debate from Congress. Look, I feel like this is going to be a problem. I also feel, the capture and control of Venezuelan oil, could definitely, in some scenarios, negate, this oil checkpoint of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, am I a geopolitical analyst? I am not. I don't know. But I'm just putting 2 and 2 together. From Buy America to Buy America, Wall Street exodus gathers pace. The shift, it's happening. U.S. investors are pulling money out of their own stock market at the fastest pace in the last 16 years as big tech returns fade and better performing overseas markets look more attractive. In the last 6 months, U.S. domiciled investors have pulled some $75 billion from U.S. equity products, with $52 billion flowing out since the start of 2026 alone, the most in the first 8 weeks of the year since at least 2010, according to LSEG Lipper data. The shift comes despite a weakening of the dollar against other currencies, which makes buying overseas assets more expensive for U.S. investors. They don't care if it costs more to buy these investments in U.S. dollars. They don't care. U.S. currency. It's a compelling sign that the diversification away from U.S. assets by some international investors in the past year is gaining traction among U.S. investors. Since the global financial crisis ended in 2009, the Buy America trade has rewarded investors at home and abroad thanks to a strong economy and earnings growth and dominance in the tech sector, leading to outsized gains in U.S. stocks. More recently, the AI boom pushed the S&P 500 to record highs last year, a strong buffer from U.S. President Donald Trump's unpredictable approach to trade policy and diplomacy, as well as his attempts to undermine Federal Reserve independence. But as concerns have grown about the possible risks from artificial intelligence, as well as the costs involved, the lure of the Wall Street stocks has ebbed. The surge in value in the U.S. mega-cap tech stocks that have led gains until now are making investors pickier, and many are spotting more attractive opportunities elsewhere. Bank of America's February fund manager survey showed investors switch from U.S. equities to emerging market equities at the fastest rate in 5 years. Quote, "I've had lots of conversation with our wealth business in the U.S. this year. They're all talking about investing more offshore because at the end of the year, they looked at the performance of foreign markets in dollars and they're like, wow, I'm missing out," end quote. U.S. investors have poured some $26 billion into emerging market equities so far this year, with South Korea the largest single country destination, with an inflow of $2.8 billion, followed by Brazil of $1.2 billion. One of the clear results of Trump's policies has been the 10% decline in the dollar against a basket of currencies since last January. While that is a disadvantage for U.S. investors hunting for opportunities abroad, dividends in dollar terms from better performing overseas markets will also be pumped. So you got a lot of money leaving the stock market. What does that mean? About to go to war with Iran. What does that mean? Trump nodded to low GDP numbers in the social post ahead of public release, blaming the shutdown. He's admitting gross domestic product is not doing a dance. President Donald Trump seemingly flagged a disappointing end-of-year reading on U.S. economic growth before it was made public, criticizing the role Democrats played in extended government shutdown last fall that pulled down the economy's headline output numbers. Quote, "The Democrat shutdown cost the USA at least 2 points in GDP. That's why they are doing it in many form again. No shutdowns. Also, lower interest rates. Too late. Powell is the worst. President DJT." Trump said on social media more than half an hour before the release of the new government data that showed the economy grew at just 1.4% over the final 3 months of the year, with the 43-day federal shutdown from October 1st to November 12th lowering that by an estimated 1.15 percentage points. Not a good dance. Oil prices jump and gold hits $5,000 as tensions ramp up between Iran and the U.S. Oil prices jumped yesterday to their highest level in nearly 7 months, and investors snapped up safe havens like gold as tensions between the United States and Iran continue to flare. Gold, usually considered a haven amid uncertainty, rose 2% Wednesday and reclaimed $5,000 a troy ounce. Gold prices wavered and rose 0.2% Thursday. It's up today. U.S. and Iranian envoys met in Geneva in recent days for negotiations on Iran's nuclear program. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance on Tuesday said Iranian negotiators did not acknowledge some of President Donald Trump's red lines in negotiations. The negotiations came as the United States has moved military assets closer to the Middle East. The prospect of conflict in Iran has stoked nerves about potential disruptions to the global oil supply and a corresponding surge in oil prices. Quote, "The renewed geopolitical tension between the U.S. and Iran is now clearly feeding into prices," end quote. This is Daniela Hawthorne, senior market analyst at Capital.com. Lucid trims 12% of its workforce. In profitability push, we're going to see a lot of more layoffs this year. It's going to pick up. Lucid has laid off 12% of its entire workforce in the United States, the company said today, as it seeks to boost profitability amid softening demand for higher-priced electric vehicles. And, Didn't the government subsidies end? There was like a $7,000 tax credit or something that you would receive if you opted to purchase an electric vehicle. Wow, I can't even say it. I don't have one, obviously. Quote, we are streamlining our organization so we can operate with greater efficiency and deliver on our commitments to gross margin improvement and long-term growth. This is the CEO, Mark Winterhoff. Him and Hasselhoff were chilling. No, I'm just playing. The cuts will not impact hourly production employees at its manufacturing facility in Arizona. Lucid had about 6,800 full-time employees globally as of 2024, according to its regulatory filing. Blah, blah, blah. Rolled out discounts. It cost $79,900 for an EV who has that cash laying around. FBI reportedly lowers standards for agents, adding to an unfortunate pattern. Uh-oh. I think this is significant. The FBI has changed in a great many ways since former podcast personality Kash Patel became its director exactly 1 year ago. This week, the list of changes is still growing. The FBI plans to make it easier for existing employees to become agents, removing two long-standing steps in vetting applicants as the Bureau faces a staffing crunch under President Donald Trump's administration, according to two people familiar with the move. The Reuters report, which has not been independently verified by MS Now, I guess that's the publication we're reading right now, was based on two sources, including Jeff Crocker, a retired FBI supervisory special agent who vetted special agent applicants during his more than 20-year career in the FBI. As Crocker described it, under the new model, existing employees who pass a written exam through an online portal would be able to go directly to the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia, to train as a new agent. Quote, the consequences of allowing such individuals lacking the impressive and necessary resumes to become FBI agents simply by passing a web-based test will be both seismic and generationally harmful to the Republic. Woo, I haven't heard anyone say anything about the Republic for a while. Complicating matters is the familiarity of the circumstances. It was last summer, for example, when the Trump administration also lowered its standards for those seeking to work as agents at Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And now you see, a whole bunch of stuff was going down. All that stuff that went down in Minneapolis. Around the same time, the Republican administration also lowered Justice Department standards on the qualifications to serve as immigration judges. I don't want to read anymore. Y'all can look that up. Grandson of Reese's inventor blasts Hershey over alleged recipe changes. Quote, I threw it in the garbage. End quote. The grandson of a man who invented the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup is publicly criticizing the Hershey Company, accusing the candy giant of quietly changing the recipe of certain products sold by the iconic brand Reese. You know what? Just reading that name, Reese, I never put, and I may be slow at sometimes, but Reese's, Reese's Pieces, Reese's. I never put two and two together that was the last name. I should have. I do in most all other products, Hershey's. I don't know what I was thinking. It just looks weird, Reese. There's a guy named, let me stop. Grandson of founder H.B. Reese, whose company merged with Hershey in the 1960s, published an open letter on LinkedIn Saturday, alleging that Hershey has replaced traditional ingredients like milk chocolate and peanut butter with lower cost substitutes in parts of the Reese's product line. Quote, my grandfather built Reese's on simple, enduring architecture, milk chocolate plus peanut butter. But today, Reese's identity is being rewritten not by storytellers, but by formulation decisions that replace milk chocolate with compound coatings and peanut butter with peanut butter style creams across multiple Reese's products, end quote. Brad Reese told Fox Business he recently purchased Reese's unwrapped chocolate peanut butter cream mini hearts candies and immediately noticed the difference. Quote, I went and bought a bag, and I took a couple bites and I had to throw it and the bag in the garbage. I couldn't eat it. It was not edible. And I look at the packaging and there was no milk, chocolate, no milk. There was no peanut butter. It was all vegetable oils and fats. Ick. That's kind of gross, y'all. He also claimed that products such as Reese's Take 5 and Fast Break are no longer coated in milk chocolate, and alleged that in parts of Europe, Reese's peanut butter cups no longer contain milk chocolate. Brad Reese argues that the alleged recipe changes undermine the legacy and integrity of the brand his grandfather built. Quote, I can't go on representing being the grandson of Reese's when the product is total bunk, end quote. I think you need to separate a commercial product from your family genealogy and heritage, but that's just me. I don't know, man. You have no idea how devastating it is. I get it, but I get it. Hershey pushed back on the criticism, maintaining that its flagship product remains unchanged. Quote, our iconic Reese's peanut butter cups are made the same way they always have been, starting with roasting fresh peanuts to make our unique one-of-a-kind peanut butter that is then combined with milk chocolate. However, Hershey acknowledged that it has adjusted recipes as it expands the brand into new shapes and variations. Quote, we make product recipe adjustments that allow us to make new shapes, sizes, and innovations that Reese's fans have come to love and ask for, while always protecting the essence of what makes Reese's unique and special, the perfect combination of chocolate and peanut butter, the company said. So they have been. Be careful. Read the ingredients. And be careful around the new FBI, y'all. I think it's, it's something to keep in mind. With that being said, y'all enjoy yourself. Take care of yourself. Have a wonderful weekend. Make sure you say 10 things that you're thankful for before you go to sleep tonight and every night. It's very important. And I'll catch y'all next week. Peace, y'all.